Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Miami Heat. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Kel'el Ware joins Heat legends in huge NBA achievement. The Miami Heat have always prided themselves on creating a culture that raises players from the ground up. So it comes as no surprise that Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra have done wonders in uplifting the skills of their players immediately after getting selected in the NBA draft. Kel'el Ware was the latest testament to this. US Kel'el Ware has been named to the NBA All-Rookie Second Team. The Heat rookie shared this honor alongside Chicago Bulls Matas Buzelis, New Orleans Pelicans Yves Missy, Washington Wizards Bub Carrington, and Portland Trail Blazers Donovan Clingan. He garnered 138 points in the voting process, which were 13 short of possibly beating out Alex Sarr for the last spot in the NBA All-Rookie First Team. Despite this, Ware still made history. He became the 8th player in franchise history to be given this honor, per Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. The Heat rookie joins greats like Justice Winslow, Mario Chalmers, Glenn Rice, Tyler Herro, Kevin Edwards, Willie Burton, and Udonis Haslem in this pantheon. He is also set up for a great trajectory in his career. Herro, the last player from the Heat system who ended up in the NBA All-Rookie Second Team, recently just became an NBA All-Star and will be the cornerstone of Pat Riley's rebuild. There are still so many things in store for Ware in his years with the Heat. His chemistry alongside Bam Adebayo will still grow, and coach Eric Spoelstra will surely help him develop his veteran acumen in the coming years. There's no use in moping over the lack of those 13 votes. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
Giannis Antetokounmpo today, because over the weekend he had a lot to say on Twitter, one of them being this. When asked about what cities that have made him the happiest, he answered Florida cities. So does that mean that Giannis likes Miami? Is this a troll job? I don't know. If you were unfamiliar with what happened over the weekend, well, Giannis Antetokounmpo was feeling, I guess, good because he went on about a 12-hour Twitter Q&A where he was answering questions from his followers, fans, everything in between, answering a bunch of questions about his personal life, his favorite sports teams, his favorite cities. Obviously, you saw there. He was also asked where his favorite road city is, and he responded New York. So, listen, as much and as fun as it would be to theorize about Giannis wanting to be a member of the Miami Heat because he loves the city of Miami, I truly believe this is just a Giannis troll job because he answered what cities makes him the most happy. He said Florida cities. He answers his favorite road city. He answers New York. So I just think he knows what he's doing at this point and is just having fun with NBA fans. But on today's show, we are going to look at what a Giannis trade would look like, a rumor that Giannis doesn't want to come to Miami and everything in between, but it is one of a legend's birthday here at the Heat family. Mario Chalmers, number 15, Rio. It's his birthday, NBA champion with Miami. Spam 15 to wish Rio a happy birthday down in the comment section. All right, when we actually talk about a real Giannis Antetokounmpo update, there is an NBA reporter that said the Heat are going to be targeting a Giannis trade this offseason, but also mentioned that Antetokounmpo would not want to play in Miami. That reporter, Scoop B. Robinson, who had an article over the weekend about Giannis, but also had something to say about Bam Adebayo on Monday afternoon, which we'll probably talk about later in the week. But Scoop B said that Pat Riley and the Heat organization have explored scenarios where the two-time MVP could be pried away from Milwaukee, but the twist is that Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't feeling Pat Riley and might be a bigger hurdle than Miami expected, to where Giannis might not want to be in the Heat locker room, part of Heat culture. And if he does not want to be a member of the Miami Heat, well, then there's absolutely no chance that the Heat trade for him. But my reaction to this little quote, it's twofold here, because I'm not sold that it's 100% accurate that Scoop knows what Giannis is feeling and what he does like and what doesn't like about other NBA organizations and teams. But I do want to give Scoop credit. Like, he does get scoops, pun intended, around the NBA. He spoke with Bam Adebayo. So he has ties. He has sources in the NBA. I'm just not sure that him saying that Giannis wouldn't want to play for Miami and isn't feeling Pat Riley is 100% accurate. Now, with that being said, I do think Miami has no chance with a Giannis trade. And I've been saying that for quite a while now, as much as it would be fun to theorize and kind of get our hopes up about an Antetokounmpo trade and how it would bring us right back to the Eastern Conference title contenders and NBA Finals contenders, if we're going to be honest. I just don't see it happening. There are just so many other teams that make more sense for Antetokounmpo and can offer Miami way out of the building where, like, it wouldn't even be competitive. You look at 4 of the teams that I will consider the most likely outcome: the Brooklyn Nets, the San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, and Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, they all have double the amount of picks that Miami can offer. They have better younger players that can be offered. Like, I don't think anyone could offer a player as good as Bam Adebayo potentially out of these 4, but are the Heat offering Bam? Probably not. Like, so if you're Milwaukee, I would rather have maybe 9 first-round picks from Brooklyn, Castle and Vassell picks from San Antonio, Alperen Şengün and picks from Houston, and like Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren from Oklahoma City. And like, not to be mentioned, there was an interesting idea thrown out there for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have to make a decision on paying Evan Mobley the Supermax or not. Could the Cavs just trade Mobley and a pick for Giannis to pair him up and upgrade from Mobley and the now to help Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland? Like, it's interesting. But the point of this conversation is that the Heat are getting outbid. The Miami Heat would have to send an unbelievable offer to the Milwaukee Bucks to even have the Bucks interested, unless Giannis demands Miami and only Miami, which I don't see that ever actually happening. So it is going to be tough for the Heat to get Antetokounmpo. I'll talk about what a package, if the Heat wanted to get their name in the ring, could even look like, and if it's worth it for Miami at that point. But I do got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, the daily fantasy sports platform I play every single day. And the basketball playoffs are almost over. We got conference finals and the finals coming up here in a second. Let's transition over to what a package would look like. And if you watched a video that we put out on the channel a couple weeks ago, and if you didn't, make sure you subscribe for daily content. But I went through 3 Giannis trade ideas. One that included Bam, one that included Tyler Hero, and then one where you tried to avoid trading Bam and Hero, so you pair Giannis up with your 2 building blocks on the roster. Well, after reading more tea leaves, seeing what's been put out there, I believe that if the Heat wanted to acquire Giannis, one, the only way Antetokounmpo would want to be on the Heat's roster is if he played with Bam, because he respects Bam, he knows how good he is, and I think that would be the main drawing point for him to come to Miami. So you're keeping Adebayo. And I don't think Miami could even throw their hat in the ring seriousness enough if you didn't include Tyler Hero, who is your best trade asset outside of Bam, because he's 25 years old, averaged 24 this season, and was a first-time All-Star. Well, I think you'd also have to offer other young pieces. Like, they would ask for Kel'el Ware. They would ask for Nikola Jovic. Andrew Wiggins would help you get their salary rise as well. And I don't think the Bucks would want Terry Rozier, so you have to include Wiggins' salary. Now, you would be able to bring Pat Connaughton back, but the part that's so fascinating is that the first-round picks I think you'd have to offer alongside Tyler. I still think you'd have to offer 2 first-rounders plus swaps. Now, maybe in this deal, you're offering your 2030 pick, your 2032 pick, and then 3 swaps in 26, 28, 29, kind of something similar to that, or 29, 31 in between those swaps. I think that's what it's going to take. Like, I know people might look at that trade and say that's not enough, but unfortunately, with how good Giannis is, a top 3 player in the world, still just 30 years old, like, if you want to pry him away from the Bucks, you have to come in with a strong offer, better than some other teams. Like, you're going to get outbid picks-wise from the Thunder, from the Rockets, from the Spurs, from the Nets. But you're going to have to combat that by sending in some better younger players. So I think that's what a trade would ultimately look like for Antetokounmpo. And I got to be honest, like, at that point, like, is it even worth it? I mean, that's a question that has to be asked if you are trading Ware, Jovic, Wiggins, Hero, and picks, because your roster outside of Bam and Giannis, like, there's major question marks there. Like, yeah, you have some players in like Kel'el Larson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., but is it a team that can win a championship? No, like, probably not. Like, Giannis is otherworldly. Like, there's no debating that. This guy is either the second or third best player in the world. I think it still goes Jokic, and then you could have your pick of SGA or Giannis at the 2-3. If SGA wins the title, maybe he is cemented at number 2 at this point. But like, yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a generational, once in a type of lifetime guy that you could potentially add to your roster. Like, as I continue to mention, where is your backcourt at this point? Like, how are you going to build a competent enough roster around Giannis and Bam at the 4-5? And yeah, that duo would guarantee you a spot probably in the top 5 of the Eastern Conference. But in order to win a title, what pieces are you surrounding them with to get there? Because you're going to need an on-ball guard that can create for them. You're going to need some shooters, and Pat Connaughton, Duncan Robinson still be on the roster. Like, yeah, you could maybe flip Terry Rozier to help get pieces around them, but it would just become incredibly more difficult. Like, to me, there's no reason to acquire Giannis unless you are adding him alongside Tyler Hero and Bam. But at that point, I don't think you could even acquire him via trade because it won't be enough of an offer. It's just so tough to balance getting him and also making sure your team is still good enough to win alongside him. But make the call for me before we sign off on today's show. Should the Heat trade for Giannis? If I told you that package that I just put on screen would ultimately land Giannis in Miami, should the Heat even do it? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think your answer has to really depend on how you answer this question. Are you trying to win in the next 2 to 3 seasons, or are you trying to win for the next 5 to 7 years? And I'll answer it this. If you're trying to win in the next 3 years, Pat Riley's 80 years old, you want to get him a ring before he potentially retires, then you do not make that trade. Yeah, you do not. Because I don't think you're going to be able to win a championship this upcoming season if you make that deal, because you just need to build more players around Bam and Giannis. But if you want to win a title in the next 5 to 7 years, well, yeah, you pair up Giannis at age 30, Bam at 27, 28, you're going to have a really good chance to build out a better roster. And by the time they get into their early 30s, mid-30s, well, then you probably have a competent team around them. Like, if you're trying to win now, I actually think it would be more likely that he'd actually make a Kevin Durant trade, and he will be the most likely outcome for the Heat's offseason as we continue to progress here towards the actual offseason where teams are done playing in the postseason. Kevin Durant is someone the Heat have always wanted to acquire. You can get him without sending Hero or Bam. I think you would be able to keep Kel'el Ware, if we're going to be honest, as well. I think it's most likely going to be like a Wiggins, Duncan, Jovic, and some picks type of haul for the Suns. And if you do that, you still have the pathway to upgrade around Hero, KD, and Bam, but also build a roster around them to win. Like, I think KD is the most likely trade, I guess, player that you can make a seismic change to the roster and it actually come to fruition this offseason. It's going to be really interesting to see how this offseason unfolds. It's going to be very, very busy, and that's why you subscribe, because we are going to have daily content here at the channel on 76ers Heat trade that could land Paul George in Miami. And I know a lot of people might be, Paul George, that contract, the way he looked this past season, why would we do that? Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the person who came up with the trade idea. Birdie954 the win is the username. Shout out to him. He said that after some rumors that the Sixers could trade the third pick alongside Paul George to get off that contract, he said, what if the Heat traded Andrew Wiggins and Terry Rozier to get that third overall pick and Paul George? Now, I think there's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons. We'll dive through all of them, and if the 76ers would even contemplate this. But Jonathan Givony, the lead ESPN draft analyst of Draft Express, did say that teams expect the Sixers to be active in trade conversations, including Paul George in the number 3 pick. He specifically labeled Kevin Durant and Lauri Markkanen, but did talk about how Daryl Morey has made a career of being active and aggressive on the trade front. So could see the third pick be in play to move off of Paul George's contract and to potentially help build their team around Maxey, Embiid, Jared McCain, right now. And if you're Miami, it is a tough call to make. Now, they might have to add their 20th overall pick to Wiggins and Rozier to get the Paul George and third overall pick done because of how good this draft class is. There's a lot of positives that could be for Miami, and there's one massive negative that we'll talk about. Let's start with the positives, though. Obviously, if you got the third overall pick, that would be an absolute home run. It would be just an immediate turnaround for your organization with how good this draft class is. Now, if you do have the third pick, these are the players that I would contemplate taking. Did not put Cooper Flagg on the list because he's obviously going number one. Now, I do believe Dylan Harper is a slam dunk pick at number 2 for San Antonio, but who knows? They've made a history of being a little bit outside the box with their draft choices, so maybe they went in a different direction than Harper. If he was there at 3, you take him no doubt, but I would probably lean then VJ Edgecombe. I'm taking Dylan Harper over any of those 5 players that we just mentioned. But if Harper ultimately did go 2 and Miami had the third pick, it's a no-brain VJ Edgecombe selection for me. A legit 2 guard that can fit really well next to Tyler Hero. A superb athlete that can get to the rim. Did have some finishing struggles this past season, which was concerning, but shot 39% from 3 in Big 12 play. Also a top 5 perimeter point of attack guard defender in this draft class. He is a dog, would be a great fit next to Tyler Hero. So I would either take VJ Edgecombe or Dylan Harper with the third pick if Miami ultimately acquired it. Another positive of the deal, obviously moving off of Terry Rozier, something that the Heat and Heat fans want to do so badly after being acquired a year and a half ago by the Charlotte Hornets before the trade deadline. Really good in his first 31 games, averaging 16 points, scoring efficiently, but we know the disaster what was last season. Just a complete regression on all ends of the floor, couldn't buy a basket, played low IQ basketball, just an absolutely abysmal basketball player in the 24-25 season. And his contract is just so large. Now, there is a incentive to keeping Terry Rozier this year, because if you keep him, you could either flip him at the deadline if you want to acquire someone, or you can use that contract to come off of the books and have it be an expiring for next offseason in free agency, it being $26.6 million. Now, because there's only 1 year left, it's not as bad as it was in the past, but the Heat do want to use that money to actually get a helpful piece for this upcoming roster. Now, we're going to re-ask this question at the end of today's show, but just off first glance, would you make that trade for Paul George and the third overall pick if you just had to give up Andrew Wiggins and Terry Rozier? Let me know your thoughts. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Well, the third and final positive of making that deal is, well, you move off Andrew Wiggins as well. So the only positives is you get off 2 veterans and you get that third overall pick. Now, Wiggins, when he was on the court, he wasn't that bad. I think we over-exaggerate how poorly he actually was for the Heat in their team. His raw stats were good. But the issue with Andrew Wiggins is that I don't think he fits that well offensively next to Hero and Bam. And he never played, and his contract is not the best. He's getting paid $28.2 million this upcoming season. And then as a player option for the 2026-2027 season, which with how things looked this past season, you would project that he opts in to that $30 million contract. But the main issue that most of us have with Andrew Wiggins is the fact he didn't play for the Miami Heat. In the regular season, out of the 33 possible games he could have played after being acquired in that Jimmy Butler trade, he only played in 17 of them. That is absolutely abysmal, barely over a 50% games played rate. He missed it due to personal reasons, injuries. Now, he did play in both play-in games and all 4 games against the Cavaliers, but it just wasn't good. And to me, if you could move off of Andrew Wiggins this offseason for a better piece, I am all in favor of doing that. So, the 3 positives of the deal. You get the third overall pick, you get Terry Rozier and Andrew Wiggins off of the roster and kind of commit to a little bit of a youth movement, if you will. We're going to talk about the negative and if I would make the deal here in just a second. But we are sponsored by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy sports platform I play every single day. And as the playoffs in hockey and basketball wind down, don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your You play your first $5 lineup, Prize Picks, run your game, acquiring Paul George. But he is such a large negative that it equals, or some might say even outweighs, the 3 positives we talked about. George's raw statistics are not that bad, almost like Andrew Wiggins. You have to go beyond the box score and use your eyes and use the contract and the missed games to really talk about how negative of a player Paul George has unfortunately become. You see the games played over the last 4 seasons. There's only been one game where he's played over 65, or one season where he's played over 65 games, that being in 2023-24, which helped get him that 4-year max contract from Philly last offseason in free agency. Played in less than half the games this past season, had almost a career low in efficiency metrics, as well as only averaging 16 points a game. Like, if we're going to be honest, he looks cooked. He does. Like, the Paul George that we all know and love that can get to his spot and just dominate in isolation settings, even be a good high-level two-way guy defending top perimeter wings on the opposing teams. It's just not there. And he even said it himself that he doesn't think he could be a elite defender at this stage in his career. So as he continues to progress to be age 36, 37, 38, and he's getting owed this much money, and he has so much injury history and the playoff dropping that we've seen throughout his career, it is just such a negative asset, which really brings down the idea of acquiring that 3rd overall pick, and it's the reason why the Sixers may attach that 3rd pick to move off of Paul George. And make sure you do subscribe, because we're going to finish the conversation here, but we have daily Heat content on all news, rumors, ideas, hypotheticals, best offseason coverage on YouTube surrounding the Miami Heat. Join the channel today. I mentioned that contract multiple times. Well, this is what is left on it. Basically 3 years, because you can guarantee that the way Paul George has looked, at least this past year, that he's going to opt into that 27-28 season at $56.5 million. So you owe him $51, $54, and $56 million over the next 3 seasons. With how he looked and how many games he misses, and the fact that he can't be a top probably 2 player on a championship team, it's ugly, man. It's a horrible contract. Unfortunately, if you acquire Paul George, you handicap your ability to make any other moves over the next 3 years. And if you do make this trade, I'll make the point where you almost admit that you are not going to win a title in the next 3 seasons. You make this trade, and you are basically saying, all right, we're making this deal to get the 3rd pick because we believe in that player, whether it's Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, or Dylan Harper, so much to where, hey, maybe we do make the playoffs with this team. And I think they would make the playoffs if they acquired PG. Get some experience, build up that core of, say, Ware, Bam, Hero, 3rd overall pick. And then when Paul George's contract runs out, Bam's entering his age 30, 31 season where he's in his prime. Hero's 27, 28 in his prime. You now then have a 3rd-year guy on a rookie contract with that pick you made at 3rd overall, and you have Ware in their 4th season. So it's a long-term play, because $138 million to Hero, Bam, and PG in the 26-27 season, that's not very good. And by the way, that doesn't even account for the Tyler Hero potential extension, which would then be, 3 players in $50 million contract? And in today's CBA, that's really not doable here. Like, it's not. You would not be able to build a competent roster at all if you're paying Paul George, Bam, and Tyler Hero each around $50 million per season. It would just be a disaster of an idea for the Miami Heat, and you're basically punting on the next 3 seasons and saying, hey, in 28-29, hopefully we'll be able to compete. So this is the trade idea. One more time, before I give you my official idea, I'm changing it slightly because I do believe you would have to attach the 20th overall pick to this Rozier and Wiggins package because, yeah, Paul George is bad, but that 3rd overall pick is pretty nice to have. So that's the trade. Would you make this deal? After I went through the positives, after I went through the negatives, would you make this trade if it was on the table? Type A for accept, type D for decline. I'm giving my thoughts here in 1 second. Although I was so adamant about the negativity of Paul George and that you're basically punting and admitting that the next 3 seasons you will not win a title, I think I would. Reason why. I mentioned I'm taking VJ Edgecombe with that 3rd pick, if not Dylan Harper. But let's just say the more realistic outcome happens. It goes Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, and you're left with that other choice here at 3. And you take VJ. You have then a starting 5 of Tyler Hero, VJ Edgecombe, Paul George, Kel'el Ware, and Bam Adebayo. Does it win a title? No. Does it even make the conference finals? Probably not. But it moves me. It does. Like, I would be so bullish on your front court and back court pairing. Hero, VJ, Bam, and Ware. That core could be so good. And as I mentioned, yeah, you have to ride out that Paul George contract over the next 3 seasons, and you'd be in the second apron in all likelihood, and you'd have to face that reality. But you would have the core coming out of that of 2 elite guards, hopefully, and a front court pairing that just needs a connecting wing that doesn't need to be a star, but just a role-playing solid 3-and-D wing after Paul George leaves, to where in 28-29, 29-30, 30-31, you are competing at the highest level for a championship. Like, I truly do view that 4-man core as one that can lead a title to Miami in 3 seasons. It would be a tough 2 to 3 year stretch here, and it would be frustrating, but it is a long-term play if you do it. I think I would be willing to make it. It all just depends if Philly would be able to and want to. But I will say, when it comes down to it, I don't think Philly actually does trade Paul George or that 3rd pick, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to do that due to their financial situation. All right, I'll do it for this episode. Make sure you do subscribe, because we talk a lot about it. Fun things here at the channel, whether it's actual trade news, trade rumors, or just a hypothetical that Heat fans were talking about on Twitter. So I wanted to give my 2 cents. We break it down here at the channel on the daily. So join us today.
Trade idea sees Trae Young land with Heat in blockbuster deal. A bold trade proposal from Bleacher Report has sparked intense discussion among NBA fans, envisioning Atlanta Hawks all-star point guard Trae Young joining the Miami Heat this summer. The deal, as outlined by Owadex Flash on X, would see Miami acquire Young in exchange for a hefty package. Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Pele Larson, a 2025 first-round pick, and a 2030 first-round pick. The trade aims to create a formidable starting 5 for the Heat, featuring Young alongside Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Kel'el Ware. Young, known for his elite playmaking and scoring, could thrive in the Heat's system, with Adebayo and Ware providing defensive support in the paint. The combination of Young's lobs and floaters with Adebayo's rim protection and Ware's athleticism could make the Heat a dynamic force on both ends. Wiggins, a solid 2-way wing, would add balance, but concerns linger about the defensive fit of a Young Hero backcourt. Fans on X argue that Hero would need to be moved for a stronger defender to make this roster championship caliber. For the Hawks, the trade offers a mix of young talent in Jaquez, Jovic, and Larson, plus 2 first-round picks, giving them assets to rebuild or flip in future deals. With the Heat looking to retool after losing Jimmy Butler's finals-caliber leadership, Young could be the star they need. But at what cost? This blockbuster idea has the NBA world buzzing as the offseason approaches. And you, fan, what do you think about Trae Young's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.